morning. This is Tampa Home Talk. That was funny. You
was
almost,
like, I've had enough.
You almost cut the bumper music. Then the bumper music kind of psyched us out and thought it was done, and then continued and cut you out. This is Leo Kane with Barrel Engineering. I'm here with Adam Talley from Talley Insurance and Katrina Madewell from Tampa Home Talk.
Good morning, Leo.
We are back for our second hour, and the second hour is 7 insurance facts that may surprise you.
And as promised, before we roll into that, Leo, we really need to plan another whole show around this. We'll do that for another day, promised, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into those. But talk about some of the, we talked about the different types of inspections, which, by the way, it's going to cost a little more, right? Because you're there at least 4 times, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to fix things before it's covered up, and it's easier to see things that are wrong before they're covered up, because we find, and I've seen so many builders at so many GTAR and Pro presentations say, we're putting these houses up as fast as we can for you to sell them, because they're talking to realtors, I just cringe every time. And then I always follow that up with, while they're putting them up as fast as possible, we're right behind them to make sure they're doing it correctly.
I would not buy a house, or build a house, I should say, without having Leo inspect it at those 4 pivotal points in the building process. So, talking about the foundation, right? You said that's number 1.
Well, yeah. I mean, the foundation's where everything sits on. If your foundation is crumbly, if your soil is undermined.
So what are you looking for? What's a couple things you're looking for at that foundation inspection?
I want to make sure the soil is compacted. I want to review some density tests. I want to make sure there's forms in place for the foundation footers, which are the stuff poured into the ground. I want to make sure there's rebar. I want to make sure the rebar is properly tied and properly spaced. I'm just looking for all these things to protect you.
We're getting some love on that one.
Yeah, and then I also want to make sure that the block walls, there's rebar going up the block. I want to make sure that they're in the right place. I want to make sure your plumbing pipes are in the right place, your electrical pipes are in the right place, all of these things.
What's the first little horror story that comes to mind when you're chatting about that foundation and stuff being in the right place?
Well, I mean, there are lots of horror stories. I mean, you can say you're going to have an island on the left side of the kitchen. It could be on the right side of the kitchen, and you've already put your plumbing and electrical pipes in there, and then you've got to move them by saw cutting out the concrete, and then putting in some T's and connectors, which anytime you have one of those, they could leak.
So when you're doing this inspection, are you actually checking it with the blueprints as well to make sure stuff's going where it should be?
Mm-hmm, definitely, you have to. I mean, you're basically looking at an empty shell, or not even an empty shell, just an empty trench in the ground. So yeah, you need the building
But that's
plans.
a prime example of one of those things, Leo. I would say, like, if it's not you, right, and it's somebody else, and even just a general inspection company that's doing like a building inspection, I don't know that all of them would look at the blueprints. Am I wrong in that assumption?
Yeah, most of them don't. I mean, we find stuff all the time where they actually install trusses backwards.
What does that mean for the house?
Well, the houses aren't shaped as pure boxes. So houses could be a rectangle. Houses could be 3 or 4 boxes that are kind of smushed together, and they're different shapes. So when you install your trusses backwards, the weight is bearing in different directions, and it could be bearing incorrectly. So you could think you're supporting the bonus room when you're really supporting just empty air, and now you don't have the actual trusses you need to support people walking around in the bonus room, and it could collapse.
I was going to say, what does that mean long term for the house? But it could collapse, so that makes sense.
Yeah, collapse.
So
collapse.
on these new build inspections, do you said now the one that we just talked about, that was a builder that actually asked you to do
hired
that,
to keep track of his contractor,
which was very, very smart on that builder. Obviously, that's a builder
a lot of respect
trust,
for him, and he's actually on the site every day, and he was one of the ones that actually he initially questioned why there was so much grout and sand left over, because he kind of wanted to know was he being charged for all this extra material.
Yeah.
And the supervisor's like, well, there shouldn't have been that much extra material. And I'm like, it all made sense once I saw what I was looking at.
So do you do more of those for builders, or do you do more of them for the people that are buying the home that are building? Like the clients.
I'll probably be at that house about 15 or 20 times, and that's for the builder.
Okay.
The homeowners usually don't want us out there that many times.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it says that we were talking about this on the break, but it says a lot about the builder that actually hired you, Leo, to come out there just to kind of check everything and make sure it was right.
I mean, he has a really small builder. He's got a lot of his money tied up into these houses. He wants to make sure it's done right, and he knows his reputation's on the line with every house. I have a lot of respect for him. And that's why I'm out there to protect his interests.
Well, the good thing is you know how to fix it, right? If there's a problem, you can give them a way to fix whatever the issue is.
Yeah, and the nice part about being out there that often is, as I come out there that often over the 90-day period they're building this house, if I find mistakes, major ones like the ones I find, they're easier to fix because you don't have to undo other things.
Makes
You just have
sense.
to fix whatever it was between the time I was out there, which was a week ago, and yesterday.
So 90 days. So you're going almost once a week at that
Yeah,
point.
pretty much. I've been out there once a week. It's been nice.
Wow.
Plus, I'm building a portfolio. We'll have slideshow afterwards. It'll be
Good.
a nice property.
So the foundation. What else is a really important? What's next?
Well,
like
framing.
as far as framing.
Yeah. So pre-drywall, you want to make sure the framing's in the right places. They've installed the 2-bys where they're supposed to. They weren't water damaged. That the roof sheathing was nailed correctly. The roof trusses are strapped correctly. These are all things where I say it was
Also-
done correctly, where I have numerous cases where they're not.
Is electrical wiring ran at that point? Are you checking that kind of stuff too?
Not at the pre-frame. I mean, sometimes the wiring's run, the rough-ins are started, the plumbing penetrations are started, but we do take a look at those rough-ins, but you won't have, there's no way to test the electrical wiring.
Nothing's live, right?
Nothing's live.
What's the next most important inspection after that when
After
you're
that,
building?
be like we call it mechanical final, but it's like you're not there. They haven't done the touch-ups, the paint. They haven't done the final cleaning, the window stuff, but most of the stuff's installed. Your AC's installed, your water heater's installed, light switches do work and things of that nature. So it's kind of a mechanical final check.
And then is there another one after that?
Punch list.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we're out.
final.
That's the nitpick one. That's
Yeah.
the one where your painter needs to touch up here. You need to put more solder around your air conditioning pad. You need to put more film by your air conditioning pad.
But think about that. Like that's when a lot of people will hire an inspector to go have a look. But there's a lot of stuff you can't see at that point once the walls are up and all
Right.
that sort of stuff.
Or there's a lot of stuff we still find that tie back to previous inspections. So now the builder will fight you because as opposed to an easy fix, there's a major one. Like this issue I was talking about at the end of the last hour and this hour was found when we came out there for final inspection. They now need to, instead of just easily just pouring cement in the tops of the blocks, they actually have to drill a hole every 8 inches and inject grout into the blocks.
So the trusses and the roof and everything's on.
Yeah, everything would be on at
that's a
that
mess.
point. It would be a mess, and that's if we diagnosed it
Like
correctly.
that auto accident
'Cause-
we talked about last week.
Yeah, the
Mess.
first thing we would think on the situation like that was the stucco was installed incorrectly. So we'd be offering stucco fixes first. That wouldn't work, and then we would tie it back to improper grout.
And you never know. Like, and that's if you're having a house built, look behind the walls, look at all that stuff before all the pieces go up.
That's one of
Just
the
makes the most
benefits
sense.
of building your house is you get to
Exactly.
see
See
it come
everything.
up, right? Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you
Because
go
you
do
can't,
that?
when you do an inspection, Leo, you guys can't do damage to the home. Like, you can only see what you can see.
No, we
You're
have,
not allowed
we have
to.
borescopes, and we have thermal cameras, all these non-invasive tools we use to see where we can't see. But I mean, nothing beats.
It's not foolproof, though, at the end of the day.
Nothing beats the walls not being up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to we're gonna have to do that another
deep
day on a
dive.
whole show, yeah, and actually share some stories with each one of those.
I would love to.
because I know you got a
but
bunch.
I really want to focus on Adam Talley from Talley Insurance.
We are
this hour.
going to. So we're going to talk about 7 insurance facts that may actually surprise you.
And me.
And
Leo from
you.
Barrel Engineering, because I get confused. I mean, I was talking to Adam before the show that I always get confused between an HO3 and an HO8, and then he told me there was something called an HO5.
There's all kinds of numbers and letters we're not familiar with.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different, policy forms. That's kind of what you're talking about. So you're, and we talked about this would probably be a better topic for another day. But real quick, you have an HO3, which is going to be your standard homeowners policy. That is for single-family dwellings and townhomes that you yourself is a primary residence or maybe even a seasonal or secondary, but you're the occupant, right? You have DP3s, which those are for your rental properties, and sometimes if it's seasonal, depending on the carrier. You have an HO6, which is just for condos. That's going to cover on the property side. It's going to cover from the wall studs in, basically, because the HOA is covering the outside walls and roof.
So this is a biggie, talking and thinking about facts that may surprise you.
Right.
It's not uncommon for people to own a home as a primary residence and then decide to rent it out.
Right, and they need to.
And if they don't
need to switch
notify their
policies.
insurance
Yeah, they need to
carrier-
switch policies at that point.
Then what? They could deny them a claim if it burns down, right?
If it was liability, I could see that. If it was regular property, they should be okay.
But that's probably a risk I wouldn't want to take.
It's something you
Just
wouldn't want
saying.
to take. You definitely have a lawyer involved on that one.
So
But we'll dive into that when we come back.
Right after this break. Our off-air number, in case you got some more questions about this insurance or construction defect building kind of stuff, is 813-377-2775. You can call or text. We'll get you connected, 813-377-2775. Be the cue that it is Good Friday. Happy Good Friday. We are live in the studio. We won't be able to reuse this show for another day.
Was that
Wait. Yeah, there you go. You see, I like that. I didn't think anybody was going to get that. And I wanted to ask Katrina because I knew she would not.
I was talking and I didn't hear anything that went on.
I guess the singer.
Who was it?
Judy Garland.
Oh, yeah.
From the Easter Parade movie.
Yeah.
With Bing Crosby.
Of course.
Love Bing Crosby. White Christmas. Big White Christmas fans over here. Snow.
So this is Tampa Home Talk. We're not going to do the pick on Katrina show because she hasn't seen any movies.
It's just awesome.
I'm just saying before it comes in because I already feel it.
The entertainment industry was so small back there.
Yeah.
Your major singers
Yeah.
were also your major actors.
Yes.
And it was just awesome back then.
Now, like, it's crazy with social media and everything, just the talent pool that has risen to the surface. I mean,
Well, I guess the major singers are the major actors now. If Lady Gaga can win an Oscar.
yeah. For
Fair
the Star is Born.
Was that the movie? I never saw it.
Neither did
I just saw it. I bought it. You can watch
Was
it.
it any good?
I liked it.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I liked it.
Oscar worthy? Because usually when things earn an Oscar, they're too out there. Like I watched The Shape of Water several years ago, and I can understand it looked pretty.
It probably wasn't.
But I could understand why it would be
Like,
Best
what was it?
Picture.
Yeah, what was
So
going
what
on?
I liked about the show, and Pat's seen it too, so he can chime in as well. But what I liked about it is it didn't have your expected ending. Would you agree with that, Pat?
Oh, extremely. Very surprising.
That's what I liked about
Like
the show.
La La
Yes.
Land had the ending you weren't
I
expecting.
didn't see La La Land, but
Wait a minute. Who
just
sat
know-
through that whole movie to see the ending of La La Land?
I did.
I did. I like musicals.
Oh, well, let's turn back on the Easter
I do
Parade.
too. We got to get you
Mr.
some
Metal
culture
Guy
here, Pat.
likes musicals. I never would have guessed.
I wouldn't have either.
I know, right?
I gotta be well-rounded.
All right.
We have a well-rounded listener base. I have
We
to
do.
know a lot about random topics to appeal to their interest and humor.
And he has to, hold up his
I
trivia
thought about
reputation.
you. I thought about you not last night, but the night before. We were playing trivia on the thing.
Oh, I love trivia.
And I actually did really well. I won every round but one.
Nice.
I
Congratulations.
never play trivia,
That is awesome.
especially if it's multiple choice. I'll probably get it
Did
right.
you win a gift card or something?
No, just play it.
Did we lose our Facebook Live?
fun.
The stream went to.
Ooh, I don't think so, but hopefully not. No, we're still streaming. We're still streaming.
So 7 facts that may surprise you.
About insurance.
Absolutely. Why don't you read the first
All right, so we
header
were
here
talking about
for
the
us?
difference between the HO3, HO6, DP3. Don't try to figure all that out. Just call or text 813-377-2775. We'll get you hooked up with Adam so he can explain all that to you. Make sure you have the right coverage. Make sure you got what you need and you're not getting something you shouldn't have.
Yes.
Absolutely.
813-377-2775. You can call or text.
That reminds me of a very topical question that I asked Adam earlier this week. What kind of insurance does my company need to rent in a place that they don't own?
So there's a couple different things. I'm glad you asked that because we do at Tally Insurance, we do a lot of commercial insurance as well, not just homeowners and auto. We do some commercial.
Yes, they do, and they did our building here for Tampa Home Talk.
So for somebody like Leo, where his office is in a rented space, there's a couple different things that you would need. Now, first of all, in your lease agreement, that property owner is going to want you to have general liability coverage, right? They're going to want to see
For at least $1 million.
They're going to want to see $1 million per occurrence, $2 million aggregate. They're going to want to see $100,000 in damaged fire damage to rented, places rented to you, right? Which people are like, okay, well now I have insurance coverage, I'm fine. It's not necessarily the case because you don't have any protection for your items. There's a couple different ways you can go. In Leo's case, because they already have a GL policy that covers their entire business for a lot of different things, he doesn't need all he needs is a commercial property policy. And you can just do commercial, business, personal property, simple policy. So that'll be a standalone, and then he would have what's called a package, right? He has the property,
Package. You got a package.
and he has the GL. There's another policy called a BOP. It's a business owner's policy, and that's just one policy that combines your general liability and your commercial property. That's what you have.
Okay.
It's
Thanks for letting me know because I didn't know that.
yeah, no, and it's very similar. It's kind of like
So
a
you put your
homeowner's
package
policy.
in a BOP?
Yes. Well, it depends on the
Adam
risk.
gave me a bop.
I gave you a BOP
For your package.
It depends on the risk. So, like, if you're a professional office, something like that, it's a lot. You qualify for BOPs because it's all done on class code,
Nice.
right? If you are,
Did I even have that with my last policy?
Yeah, it was the
Okay.
same type policy.
Okay.
If you were in a riskier profession, as far as a liability standpoint is concerned,
Like
then
what,
you.
repo guy or something?
Well, no, because for him, right, he does inspections, so
He's
his
more
general
likely to fall
liability
off
is
a
a
roof.
little bit
I'm more likely to see a defect.
Exactly, he's more likely. It could even cause damage. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen, especially on that side of things. So his would always be a package. Yours is a BOP, and the one good thing about a BOP is it's just like a homeowner's policy. It has all these little coverages in there that you might not think you need, but if something really bad happens, it's nice to have those coverages. So we digress on the
No. It makes sense.
7 insurance
One of the
facts.
things, this is one of the ones on our list, but one of the things that do not get talked about enough is how your credit can actually affect the insurance rate that you pay. So I want to talk
Absolutely.
about that for a minute, because that also includes people that have no credit or no score and just don't populate a score at all, right?
Right. So there's a couple different, and it's different.
I love Dave Ramsey. I'm a big advocate of no debt. I'm just saying there's another point of view that you need to consider.
Right. And a no hit doesn't negatively affect you, for instance. Now, a 425 would affect you. But
But if you have bad credit or collections or whatever,
they're going to they're going to see it. And so on the homeowner's side, there's 2 reports that are always going to get run by the carrier. One is going to be your credit. Now, it is a soft hit. Doesn't show us your score, doesn't affect your score. It's just running in the background. And your clue report, which is your previous claims. And it's
Pat
not just
knows all about a clue report.
And it's not just to you as the individual, it's to the home as well. So if you're
Yes.
buying a home, that clue report, it's going to show, hey, there was a water damage
Something going
claim
on.
for $25,000 2 years ago.
And it doesn't even have to be a claim. It can be a claim started, like an inquiry.
It could be. It could be. So that is another good tip. When you call a claims department, when you call your carrier's claims department, they're taking notes, and you're like opening a claim. You can't ask them questions. You need to come
So
to
you
your
can't
agent
undo.
first.
Yeah, great point. Go talk to your agent. They will answer the questions.
And I'll more than likely tell you, yes, you need to go file a claim. That's why you buy insurance, right? But
So if you make the mistake and you do that inquiry, then you should run the gambit and hire us.
you might need to. You might need to go all the way, depending on what it is. Some of the stuff that gets denied, though. It's they don't understand that they didn't call us first. They have something that went wrong, but they have a $2,500 deductible. The thing that went wrong costs $800 to fix, and it's a $0 payout because it's within their deductible.
So what we learned last hour is you should rely on your agents to support you.
Correct.
And that's
we are
the same
the professionals.
learning at this hour. You should rely on your agents to support you.
Well, and that's another good reason to go with an independent agent. It's kind of like
Yes.
going with a experienced real estate agent. We have many different carriers, and we work for you, right? We don't work for these carriers. So if you're going directly to a Geico or something like that, one, you're talking to a different agent every time, but two, their paychecks say Geico on it. They don't
Doesn't
say
matter
anything
what-
else, right?
yeah.
So they're going to be, they have Geico's best interest in
They're
mind.
there to just answer
not necessarily
generic
yours,
questions,
right?
yeah.
So that's something to look at. On the auto side, just like on the home, they do the credit. They do the clue, but they're also doing your MVR, right? So that's your motor vehicle report. That's going to have all your tickets and that kind of stuff.
So if you got a lead foot, it's going to affect your insurance.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we see a
there's
big difference sometimes.
Couple states that actually are prohibited from charging different rates if basically there's issues on the credit. But I know California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, they're prohibited for using credit for setting rates. but
Not Florida with the amount of lawyers we have here.
Not
Yeah.
Florida, not most of the other states.
And most of the time with the carriers, it's not like it's usually you get a credit if you have super great credit, but there's not necessarily like an upcharge, for instance.
Right. So another point on our list is not all damage is actually covered by homeowners insurance.
Correct.
So that's a good thing to talk about and there's a lot of different pieces in that insurance policy or might not be in that insurance policy.
Right. So one of the big things that people don't understand is flood, right? And the difference between flood insurance and water damage, right?
Well, think about it. A hurricane just came and it flooded your home. You're not thinking about any of that. You're just like, you got to rip everything out. Everything in your home's ruined.
Well, and people,
you just think you have insurance.
Well, and on the other side of that, people, when they, on the application where you're signing, oh, I don't have flood insurance. They're like, what do you mean? So if a pipe breaks, I don't have any coverage? I'm like, no, that's water damage. That's not flood. So there is a little bit of a misnomer out there. So that's one thing to look at. Also, if you are now talking about water damage, if you're in an older home, you do need to check and see if A, do you even have water damage, and B, is it limited? Because we do see that with the older homes now. They're limiting your water damage to $10,000. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
But they also have what they call like sudden and accidental, right? Which is what insurance is supposed to be. It's not like if you have deferred maintenance items you haven't been caring for and they see that, they could deny your claim.
Right. So insurance doesn't pay for wear and tear, right? So it's only certain perils. So if you...
Perils. That's such an insurance
When we
term.
come back, I'll tell you the story about my grandparents' house and their roof.
Oh, good. All right.
It's a good story.
You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Our offer number is 813-377-2775. You can call or text us. We would love to hear from you. We are working today. 813-377-2775. Happy Good Friday to you. Again, you can reach us at 813-377-2775. We'll be back in just a second, so stick around.
Back to Tampa Home Talk. I am Adam Talley with Talley Insurance, joined by Katrina Madewell and Leo Kane. And today we're talking about...
It's your special Good Friday edition.
It's a special Good Friday edition.
That's what happens when you turn Pat George loose in the studio all by himself.
It is pandemonium on the intros and outros here.
You're talking over Jack Hartman, Here I am watching him dance. I expected you guys to get up and dance on Facebook or at least wear bunny ears.
I've been thinking about this all night to plan which song to play, and you guys just talked over it.
My condolences to Jack on that one for not dancing. We were talking about what is and isn't covered, and you brought up something really good, which is wear and tear.
Today's show is about 7 insurance facts that might surprise you. And so one of the things we left off on before the last break was damage that might not actually be covered. Correct.
So wear and tear isn't covered. So I'll use the example of my grandmother's house, right? Her house.
My husband hates the word deferred maintenance. I'm just saying.
So on her
house,
they had they had a roof. Their roof was original, right? So it was almost 50 years old, but it was tile roof, so it held up really well.
Asbestos tile or clay tile?
Clay tile. Okay. And they had a roof leak. So the carrier came in and they're like, all right, well, the roof is 50 years old, so it should have been replaced by now. So what happened was with that claim, the carrier paid for the water damage inside, the rugs, the walls, that kind of stuff. But they had to replace the roof.
Because it was 50 years old.
Well, because it should have been, it's long past its useful life.
They're lucky they got 50 years.
Pretty good on that.
The Tile Roofing Institute, in their Florida guide, says a tile roof should last 50 to 100 years.
Okay.
I would venture to say probably in other states it does. I think down
Florida
here it's a little.
Of the Tile
I know what you said.
The metal roofs? Like, what do they say about the metal roofs?
The Tile Roofing Institute doesn't care about metal roofs.
No, but I'm asking you.
They're all 50 to... If you maintain the flashings correctly, all of those roofs can last 50 plus years.
Well, and on an insurance side, they're accepting them up to 30 years or 35 years in most cases on the tile roofs and the metal roofs and that kind of stuff. So you're getting insurance for a long time.
For metal?
Well, the other thing...
Some of those are like lifetime roofs.
Well, I mean, you got to look at the wood that's underneath it and that kind of stuff, too,
Well, if the wood doesn't get wet, then...
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true.
It should be fine.
Well, listen, we can get into the actuarial side of everything.
We always love to argue with Adam and, poke at the insurance guy.
I made it a point not to argue with Adam on insurance coverage during the Adam Hour.
And you've been doing very well, although I don't think we had anything too controversial here today.
I could make anything controversial.
We're going to pick a day where we gang up on Leo.
I love it.
Let's do it. I welcome it. I welcome it. Gang up on me.
He's not a sports guy, so we'll do sports trivia for Leo and try to.
I hate those little blue wedges in Trivial Pursuit.
Oh, perfect. See, that's why you need me on your team. I know all the sports stuff.
We'll do it on a day when he has no sleep.
Perfect. I love it. We'll do a 3 a.m. wake up call on that one.
Yeah, like we might not be able to do a live broadcast. We might have to pre-record. Can you come in at 6 in the morning? I'm like, no. I just won't.
Leo's like, I just went to bed at 4.
I'm just not going to show up because I'll be brain dead.
So what's number 3, Katrina?
Yes.
Well, I think we're on number 4 because we kind of went out of order, but nonetheless, driver's education cuts some of the auto costs, doesn't it? I have a 16-year-old. This is a hot topic for me.
It does, but not as much as you'd think. So
Like how
on a
much?
youthful driver, it's a little bit more, but I've seen it because I've had multiple clients that were, where they went and got the AARP, senior driving course and all that stuff. They're like, Adam, I got this. They sent it to me. Tell me what
The
my
senior driving
discount is. And I've seen it as low as like $10 total for 6 months.
So
So they
about-
sat through 4 hours of classes for $10.
What about when they get to a certain age? Like, do they start hiking up the rates?
So yeah, it's kind of almost like a reverse bell curve. So when you're really, really young, the rates are up here, and it kind of goes down as you get a little older. Peak, or
So
the
they're going to be like,
base-
if you're 80, you can't run a car either.
No, so long as now we do have some carriers where once you get to a certain age, they want you to go, they want you to sign, they want your doctor to sign
Recertify
off
your
on a eye exam, basically. I've had that happen. One of our carriers does that if you're at a certain age.
I tell you what, my grandfather drove like his whole life, probably like till, I don't know, last year or so of his life. And he was like, my grandpa was awesome, but he was so rogue. Like, he was just like, if somebody would make him mad, he would just like zoom past him. Like,
Yeah.
But in that scenario, doesn't the horse take care of the driver?
just stop. Just stop. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
All right. So this one I know you don't like to talk about because you guys do more like the home and some of the auto and stuff, but this would make total sense that your life insurance costs more for bad drivers.
Yeah, so that one I can't really speak to. That's not really our area of expertise. I think we did get some of these.
Well, according to
bullet
the
points
report
from
that I
the,
pulled, it says after it basically traffic tickets, speeding tickets, your driving record, all this kind of stuff. If you have multiple violations, it's a red flag for insurance companies, and they know poor driving increase the risk of death.
I
Makes
mean,
sense.
it makes sense. It does make sense, definitely.
So I read the Ripley's statistics, like the Ripley's Believe It or Not statistics, and they had one about 4 weeks ago that really struck with me, and I use these in trivia all the time. But they said that if humans could live forever, none of us would live past 1,000 because we would die in an accident.
Interesting.
Really? Like a car accident or some sort
Any
of
kind
accident?
of accident, but it was implying car accident or vehicle accident. So, like, even if we had the ability to live forever, we would all be dead within 1,000 years.
So the statistics on accidental death are
Yeah. So, and I do
Interesting.
know, like, heart attack, cancer, and traffic accident are the top 3 causes of death in the U.S. So, yeah, I can easily see your life insurance being swayed by
How you drive.
how you drive and how your genetics are.
definitely makes
Well,
sense.
Pat, he does traffic all the time, so
Yeah.
he drives like a grandpa. He don't speed or nothing. Did you know
And
he
I
used to be
do-
a cop?
Well,
And he
you
used
don't have
be
to
in a
tell all my
helicopter.
secrets.
He was a cop, huh?
He was in a helicopter too. He used to do
know.
traffic by the helicopter.
No,
That
we
was the
did it.
days.
We did that in
The
an
van.
airplane.
He did the van too.
The
Yeah.
skittle drop from the helicopter.
Let me just tell you. Let's get back to my insurance record. So I had to pull up a record for a job that I did, and they wanted my driving record because I was going to drive one of their vehicles. So when I went to get that, they handed me a blank piece of paper, and I've been driving since I was 15. And I said, no, I need my record. They go, no, this is your record, and it was my name, my number, and a white page
That's
of
the best.
nothing on
You've never even had a speeding ticket, have you, Pat?
Nothing.
That's amazing.
Absolutely nothing. And the crazy thing about that is I did work 20 years on the interstates in Tampa in the Bill Curry courtesy van.
know.
During rush hour.
That's insane.
Isn't it? And he never got anything.
Well, if you drive like Pat, you might have a pretty good insurance rate. Honestly, I will tell you, I saw this week, it was the craziest thing. I sold a policy yesterday, an auto policy, and it wasn't necessarily stripped down on coverage either, for $262 for 6 months. It was the least expensive auto insurance policy I have ever seen. He's paying less for 6 months than my wife and I pay per month.
How? What is he getting?
The car is paid
Never
for.
drives, right?
Low mileage, cars paid for, good credit.
I should be getting way bigger discounts than what I'm getting.
You have a
have teenage
litter of
drivers.
drivers that are.
I have a litter of children. You can say it. It's fine.
But I had never seen it that low before, and he was very, very happy. So
He only drove to church.
we
once a
switched
week?
we switched him from the Lizard, so it was a good good win for everybody.
All right, so let's hop around, go into another topic. Flood insurance. We touched on it earlier, so we won't spend too much time here. But flood insurance is not homeowner insurance. So different.
Yeah, so flood is going to be rising water. Now that could be, like what we had in Houston, where the storm just sat over them for 5 days. No place is really equipped to handle 60 inches of rain in 5 days. So, you have instances like that. You have...
remember we had those crazy torrential downpours, like 3-4 years ago?
Wow.
I remember I had a listing in Bayshore, and I couldn't even get there to show it.
I remember
There's
those.
definitely some low-lying areas
August
over there
2nd,
that it doesn't take a
2016.
hurricane.
Remember that?
August
Yeah.
2nd, 2016.
You know the day.
Yeah.
I know my disaster dates.
I tell you what, I had a customer that paid cash for a house. Her mom actually lent her the money and she paid cash. And she was in a flood zone. And I told her to get flood insurance. We even lined it up. And I'm like, I was telling my team, like, look, anytime anything happens, I always say, what could we do better? What could we do different? How could we make a difference in the future, right? But the reality of it is, I pulled the email even telling her, look, you need to get flood insurance. You're in a flood zone. She didn't do it. We could have lined it up, build the policy at closing, everything. But the likelihood is she probably wouldn't have renewed it when it was up for renewal and wouldn't have had the flood insurance anyway. But what happened was it flooded her whole house. And then it was a total
a
loss.
shame.
It was wiped out, no insurance.
So flood is starting to get more and more complicated,
And they
too.
had a claim before a flood claim.
I believe it.
So what's the deal with FEMA if you've had, is it 2 or 4? I think it's 2 prior flood
repetitive
claims.
loss.
Two.
They no longer insure it at all.
Yeah, because they expect
Right?
you to rebuild the house to the FEMA floodplain standards.
So
Technical Bulletin 8.
Yeah.
So 2 flood claims on this home ever, and you can no longer get flood insurance anywhere, right? Can you get on the private market?
Private, I mean, it would have to be the extreme
Be ridiculous
private market,
price.
right? Like, so we insured a home that was up in Cape Sandblast that just got hit, right, this past year. And they're in what's called a COBRA zone. So that's a coastal
That sounds pretty
barrier
awesome.
resource area. Yeah. So basically, that's where the government's come in and said, we're not going to give you any insurance. Like, they're not funding anything. FEMA, you can't get any NFIP insurance. Nothing
Which is
from
not that
FEMA.
much anyway. Like it's not.
And so to get insurance on this home in a COBRA zone, and I'd like to say the dwelling limit was nice. It was like $400,000 or $500,000, but the premium was like $12,000 a year.
Wow.
But
When they with that
he
whole
needed
flood
it.
reform,
He used it. He needed it. He used it.
When they did that whole flood reform stuff, we were under contract for a property in Hernando Beach, and we literally saw a flood quote come back at about $32,000 a year. It was ridiculous.
It's pricey.
They
out
ended
there.
up closing on the policy, but I think they still paid at least $9,000 for a stripped down policy. They've since gotten better coverage, but man,
Now the one unique thing when it comes to flood insurance is if you're in a condo, right? So just like the HOA is paying for the outside walls and roof, they're also paying for a flood insurance policy. Now, if the condo is paying for the flood insurance policy and they're insuring the entire building, if you break it down per unit and it matches the 250,000 maximum per unit that the NFIP will offer, you can't get any NFIP flood insurance for that property
wow!
because
I didn't
it's
know
already
that.
insured at the max.
So don't buy a ground unit condo then.
I would not. I mean, you can get some excess. There's excess options out
Umbrellas.
there, but
Really,
it's one
just
of
it boils
those
down
like
to look at the elevation certificate. Look
Right.
at the survey details in depth. There's people that do nothing but these flood insurance evaluations and they can pull you in and out of a flood zone.
Well,
So-
if you're gonna, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're gonna buy a condo, get a copy of that HOA's master
Absolutely.
flood insurance policy. Send it to your agent. Have them look at it because you don't want to
Right.
overpay. And even if it's only a couple $100 for
So-
flood, if you're never going to see any money
right.
from it, there's no point
When
anyways.
we come back after the break, we're going to share our last tip, which is sinkhole versus catastrophic ground collapse.
Perfect.
Hi, this is
And we're back.
Leo can't take it.
I can't take it anymore. Pat was supposed to pull us out of the break, and it just kept going and going, and then we just...
It
Feels
was
like that's it.
it's a beautiful song for today.
Was that by the Whiffenpoofs by chance? Like the a cappella group?
No, that was
Oh,
by,
how was the cellos?
that was by Glad.
The cellos.
You
were-
should have played the cellos. You're going to have to play that
The two
before.
cellos were phenomenal.
You're going to have to play that before we leave, Pat,
They
on the break.
did. They did a cover of Muse Resistance that was phenomenal. I mean, they shred on these cellos.
They do. I've seen them play like the Metallica songs and stuff.
They did
oh my
a little
gosh.
bit too much AC/DC in their set for my taste. I would have liked to see more variety, but they did Iron Maiden. They did
Those guys are
two
bad.
Michael
You know
Jackson
what?
songs. They had a
Bad
drummer.
butt.
sit
Did
in.
they do Smooth Criminal? I've seen them do that
They
one.
did Smooth Criminal.
Yeah.
It was just watching them go to town on these
I was so
cellos.
mad that you went to that. I didn't even know it was that. I
was-
totally would have went to that.
It was awesome. I've never seen like Omni Arena. I usually don't like to go to the Omni Arena because sound is poor in these
like,
arenas.
would you go see him again?
I would definitely go see him again.
What stadium would you go see him again?
I would
Like,
see
where
him
would
in
you want
Omni. Yeah, Omni. It was the right setting. I was thinking of a band like that. I want to see them at Ruth Eckerd. I want to see them at the Straws. They played that
That is
song
them,
too.
yeah.
But this is the actual AC/DC. That's not two cellos. I don't hear any cellos in the background there.
No.
Yeah, that's not
Pat,
two cellos, Pat.
find the two cellos that are doing
that
this-
is the two cellos.
Find the two cellos doing the Smooth Criminal. Find that one.
Right.
That's
That is-
it's so cool.
Yeah, that is really
They are
cool.
really like, well, my husband plays guitar. One of the neighbors plays guitar, and he's the one that like turned us on to them. I was like, what is this? There's like the coolest thing I've ever
Actually,
seen.
that is, come to think of it, because they have the drummer fill in, that was a live version of the two cellos.
I
that was
heard a
just
cello in there a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit, just with some background noise over.
But yeah, it's
taking
just amazing to see, and they're out of Eastern Europe, and they do a little bit of comedy between the songs. They shred. It's awesome.
Now I want to like go see them somewhere because I really wanted to see it. I didn't know they were here.
Yeah, and they have a 22 song set. I would highly recommend it anytime. I mean, just to
How
see.
much were the tickets?
Well, I got them through the Straws on Black Friday, so I paid $30 a piece.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, tickets were dirt cheap. Show was phenomenal. Light show attached to it. Very entertaining, and they played for like an hour and 45 minutes.
Love it.
Wow. All right, so Pat's going to find that music for the end so we
Yes.
can get it queued up. But real quick, our last little tip on the 7. We got to get to number 7.
I think we're at
Insurance
like
facts.
8 by now.
Yeah,
But
That
yeah,
might-
8 or
no,
9.
this is still 7.
All right.
Insurance tips that might surprise you. Our offer number is 813-377-2775. You can call or text if you want to connect with me, Leo, Adam, or just have a question. You want to pick our brain. We'll be a great resource. Resource for you.
You got it.
813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. You know, we were going to do like a best of show, and I don't have my audio from like 5.5 years ago when I started doing radio. It would be so great.
None of
though.
that would be best of, because that's pre-Adam and pre-Leo.
But it would
Yeah.
just be funny to hear. You guys would laugh like when you heard some of my
bottom 10.
earlier radio
yeah, the bottom
ones.
10,
Bottom
10 show.
Yeah, bottom 10 show without us.
10. Okay. All right. So homeowners policy, the joke of sinkhole coverage versus catastrophic ground collapse, because sinkhole coverage really doesn't exist anymore.
Right. And I am going to give you a very, very general description here. Now, when it comes to the technicalities, the true descriptions on the Florida CFO's website, as far as from the insurance perspective is, and then as far as the engineering and everything, you need to call somebody like Leo that can come in
So-
and actually do that kind of
Leo,
stuff.
are you, I'm going to say yes, but you just verify, like, are you one of the ones that, let's say someone's fighting their insurance carrier, they don't have sinkhole coverage because most insurance carriers, it just doesn't exist. And now they're fighting for catastrophic ground collapse coverage. Do you push that through the county to actually get that? Like, can you push to show that you're...
What I say on if someone is pushing catastrophic ground collapse coverage because of a sinkhole, I am a neutral evaluator from the state of Florida. So the state of Florida, there's 60 of us. We'll send one of us in to settle the dispute between the homeowner's expert and the insurance company's expert. And the reason why the state of Florida has that set up is, and we've all played the insurance game at some point in this level, where if you can always find an expert to say it is something,
It
and
is
you can
what it
always
is.
find an expert
Yeah.
to say it isn't something.
Of course, it's
Sinkholes
opinions.
are so serious that the state of Florida wants a neutral party involved.
Right.
So we're part of that neutral team.
So does that mean that decision's final no matter what?
It's still non-binding. So we basically make an opinion, and then sometimes we're about 50-50 on where we side because
Right.
we're neutral. And it just
Go figure.
you know,
It makes sense,
50-50.
right?
50-50. But basically, a lot of times we see what ends up happening is we say we side in favor of the insurance company, and the public adjuster still files suit against the insurance company.
So, and just to kind of lay this out, because I think we kind of did it backwards. So, when
We did.
the difference between sinkhole and catastrophic,
Oh, yeah.
and this is the very
This is how you actually
again,
get here to get it
very
covered.
layman's terms, but catastrophic, it's included in all the standard homeowners policies in the state, and it is when sudden earth movement causes the home to be deemed unlivable.
Yes,
right? In
uninhabitable.
generalities, right?
Yeah, so basically, catastrophic ground collapse is the technical definition is there are 5 criteria that need to be met, and one of these criteria happens suddenly, and you shouldn't be living in your home.
Correct. So that's
What's
included.
the 5 criterias?
That is a whole show.
Oh,
Because it's
okay.
another list.
Yeah, it's another list. A list of
Yeah.
lists.
And it's a very technical list, so
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't make a good show topic.
Yeah. But so we get people that ask about sinkhole coverage and can we get it? So
Somebody will